In the land of the rising sun, Japan, you'll find twin ring Motegi. Japanese race fans have waited more than a year for the IndyCars to return here. Last year, Danica won. This year's race may determine a series champion.
Dixon's got the low side, Briscoe on the high side, and it's going to be Briscoe! Briscoe has nosed in front of Scott Dixon.
Points leader Ryan Briscoe, by winning 4 poles in 2009, proves that starting position is a key element to a championship season.
Here is Dario Franchitti. He'll beat Ryan Briscoe to the checkers by 2 car lengths.
Checker flag, man. Great drive.
He got the pole, led the most laps, and he won the race.
But can Franchitti and Dixon find that extra speed needed to start out front and bring home another championship for Team Ganassi? We've come to the next to the last race of the 2009 series, the Indy Japan 300, and now it's peak pole qualifying to determine the pole sitter for the race. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Jan Beekes and Robbie Buell here in the booth, and Jack Arute is down on pit lane. Qualifying just about ready to get underway here as Graham Rahal rolls out of the pit area. Now there are 8 drivers who have never competed here at Twin Ring Motegi, and Graham Rahal is one of them. He was 6th fastest overall in practice earlier with a speed of 200.304 miles an hour. We'll see what he can do. He has 2 pole positions during this year at St. Petersburg and at Kansas.
I like, we talk about momentum and the pole positions you mentioned, but if we look at the last 2 mile-and-a-half super speedways, we look back to Chicago and Kentucky, both 5th place finishes for him. Those are good, solid runs. When we were riding on board, Jan, we were commenting how good his car looks like just by watching his hand movements on the wheel as he's rolling through here, listening to him get back to power. And as you were watching some of the data, you're like, hey, that's some good top speed. So pretty comfortable, pretty happy race car he has.
You talk about 1.5-mile ovals, but it's definitely worth noting and reminding this is a much different animal, an egg-shaped racetrack to here in turns 1 and 2. You see all the sparks. As the tire pressures and temperatures come up, you'll see less sparks, but here he'll have to go down 1 or 2 gears approaching turn 3.
And turn 3, this to me is the real key, is to flow the speed into 3 and get back to power right here as you come off 4. And the quicker you can get back to power coming off 4, that sets your speed all the way through here. Here's the flat out turn 1 and 2 versus where you have to drop gears heading towards 3 and 4, what we're looking at right there.
First lap in excess of 200 miles an hour.
There he's down the 2 gears, back to full power, a quick lift, and back to power.
And the second lap is also above 200, a little bit faster on lap number 2 for Graham Rahal.
Robbie, you talk about this approach, and on board it was so dramatic. Right here when you have to roll the car in to turn number 3 is certainly, many drivers have talked about, maybe the most difficult turn in, maybe other than turn 1 at Indy. But that is a place where really gets your attention.
It does, because it is very fast here. Yes, it's a 1.5-mile super speedway, and turns 1 and 2 are flat out, but you need downforce in the car to get through that turn 3-4 complex, but not too much. So it really challenges the driver to stand up in the seat to carry that speed into 3.
Every lap has been quicker. Let's see what lap number 4 is as Rahal concludes his run, and it's a little more than 201 miles an hour, 201.164, with an average of 200.649 miles an hour. Championship contenders. Well, there are 3 left. Ryan Briscoe enters this event as the series points leader. In second position is the driver who won the title 2 years ago, ran in NASCAR last year. And then in third position of the point standings, 33 behind, is Scott Dixon, who is the defending series champion. There are the top 10 in the point standings. You can see several positions are very, very close, but the championship will be decided among the top 3. And there are several scenarios that will give us a champion this weekend. If Ryan Briscoe can win the race, Dixon must finish second or third. Franchitti must finish 7th or better. Now remember, these scenarios do not factor in the bonus points, and 1 bonus point will be picked up today in qualifying by the pole position winner. And the driver who leads the most laps in the race will also pick up bonus points. E.J. Viso is now on the racetrack. He was 11th quick in the practice period with a speed of 199.563. This is EJ's first start here at Japan.
Wow, did you see the sparks off of that? Again, until you bring the tire temperatures and pressures up, they don't expand. You don't get that buildup. And boy, you hit those bumps. That was a huge amount of sparks for Viso.
And we saw it wasn't just the car sparking. We actually saw the movement in the rear of the car of going up and down on those bumps that really bashed it down on the pavement.
First lap is going to be disappointing for EJ, 195.880.
His 11th quick time that he had in practice was 199 miles an hour. So, like you say, to have a first lap 4 miles off that's big disappointment.
You don't get a lot of practice at Twin Ring Motegi, so sometimes you will take risks and you'll try something in qualifying, and certainly this seems to have backfired as far as the setup goes, way off the pace that he would have wanted.
Yeah, but I wouldn't see these guys taking a lot of risks, because being 11th quick this morning, that's as solid as these guys have been on a big super speedway to be that far up the grid. So I wouldn't think they would have thrown that much at it, but things happen so quick in the sport. You never say never, and you always are trying.
Well, he's gaining every lap. He started out at 195.8 and is up to 198.3 for lap number 3 as Viso comes out of corner number 2 and goes down the back stretch. This is a 1.5 mile racetrack. The turns are only banked at 10 degrees, so it's almost a flat racetrack. As Viso comes off the corner, looks at the checkered flag displayed by Paul Blevin, and his last lap is his fastest, 198.494, and the average is 197.443. Jack Arute.
Bob, one of the things that's a little bit different this time around here at Twin Ring Motegi is the schedule, and that is the fact that it's, instead of in the spring, it's in the fall here in Japan. But the one thing that remains constant, the threat of rain. Now, unlike in the United States where green is the predominant color, you see the green, that's heavy rain, the outer rings of a typhoon. But here is Twin Ring Motegi here, and you can see this light blue, or as I call it, petty blue. That's a light mist that we've been subjected to over the last 5 or 6 hours. The big key is, can we get 23 cars qualified today before that petty blue mist descends on Twin Ring Motegi?
Qualifying has been hampered 3 times in the IRL era here at Twin Ring, at 2003, 2006, and 2008. Now, if it does rain and they will be unable to complete qualifying, the field would line up according to owner points. Green flag comes out, and Marco Andretti begins his 4-lap run. He was 12th fastest overall in practice at 199.4.
Again, sparks in 1 and 2. Looking back to that EJ Viso run, I agree with you, Robbie. I don't think they necessarily threw something new at the car, but the fact that it took a while for the tire pressure to come up because we saw those big sparks, I think that just really threw him for a loop on the first couple laps.
It did, and even when we saw EJ on his 3rd lap, he still was bottoming really hard and sparking.
Not a bad lap for Marco on lap 1, 198.682. Our ladder down the bottom shows that he's right now good enough for 2nd fastest.
If you guys remember, last year Marco qualified, I think, in the 4th spot, but on cold tires going into turn 1 at the start of the race, just lost the rear end, and it's a long way to go all the way to Japan and practice and qualify and not even get through turn 1. So he's got a point to prove this year.
He also, of course, is the first of the Andretti Green entries to run, and we know how much they share information. So even if he doesn't quite get the lap he wants, he'll be able to. Oh, I heard a bit of a lift. Sounded like coming off. That's not going to help the lap.
And it was slower than lap number 2, down to 198.659.
And what brings that lift as he's coming off of 4 is when you roll into turn 3, you have a little bit of a lift, you go down a couple gears, and you want to get back to throttle as quick as you can. Commit back to it, but sometimes you commit back to it, and all of a sudden the car starts pushing up the racetrack, and you got to dump the throttle again and reset the front of the car.
And the checkered flag comes out down on lap number 4 to 197.744. Average is 198.557. He is second quick. Graham Rahal is the fastest of the first 3, and EJ Viso is the slowest. Stay with us for more peak pole qualifying here at Twin Ring Motegi, as Dario Franchitti will be up very shortly.
A lot of different cars, but 2 things.
IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win.
We are qualifying for the Indy Japan 300, and Oriol Servia has just taken the white flag. Here he comes down for the checkered flag. His 4th lap, the fastest at 200.612. That was better than he practiced at. His average is 199.703. He is currently second quick, and so the Newman Haas Lanigan cars are first and second after 4 qualifiers. Well, how have the championship contenders done here at Twin Ring Motegi? Well, Scott Dixon, his best finish was a 9th. His worst was 12th. Briscoe and Dixon both have 3rd place finishes, but they also have had some rather disappointing finishes here at this facility. Next on the racetrack will be Dario Franchitti, flying the colors of LifeLock again on that Target Chip Ganassi car.
Makes it pretty easy for us to identify the 2 Target cars, because there's only 1 Target car that's out there. So between Dixon and Franchitti makes it a little easy for us to ID them from up top.
And Sarah Fisher didn't make the trip down to Japan, so even easier when it comes to yellow cars. But a guy who has certainly been one of those talked about in the practice sessions has been Dario. He's been quick each time, second overall.
Turned in a speed of 201.629 in the practice period. Up at the top right of your screen, you see the speed that he is shooting for. Let's see what he gets. The ticker says 4th, and now it moves up to 1st. The average on the first lap is 200.480 miles an hour.
This was the big question everybody on pit road had, fellas, because Dario Franchitti's fast times were set when there was a full skate out there, all these cars, and a lot of people were wondering, what did that LifeLock car have, or was it the benefit of the draft? We'll have to see on this white flag lap what the answer is.
Moved it up to almost 202 miles an hour on the second lap.
And to comment more on what Jack is saying, you know, even if you don't have a car right in front of you, just with some other cars on the racetrack and just get that air swirling around the track can add as a draft and give you a little better time and maybe kind of give you a false read of how fast you can go just by yourself out there.
This should be, again, 201.5. I was going to say 201.7. He slipped a little bit coming off of 4. But this is a nice run for Dario. This'll be near the front for sure.
He has 4 poles this year at Texas, Richmond, Toronto, and Sonoma.
Starting to slip a little.
And he only dropped 1 gear. So we've seen guys had to drop 2 gears. He's dropping 1 gear in turns 3 and 4.
201.523, and the average 201.395, and he knocks Graham Rahal off the provisional pole position. Jack is with Graham.
Well, you were on provisional pole till Franchitti went out. What about your car in terms of the race itself?
Well, I mean, the McDonald's cars felt good, you know, the whole time we've been here, and I think that we're really competitive. You know, it's tough to say exactly. I mean, we're seeing now where these guys are at. You know, we knew the Penske's and the Ganassis, the usual suspects. They've been quick the whole time, and Danica's been quick. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where we fall here. But again, the car feels good. You know, it's just we got to find that last little bit of speed, and unfortunately, showing up here as your first time and being the first to qualify, it's pretty tough.
But, Bob, I think you did a pretty good job being the first one in the first one.
No question about it. His average is above 200 miles an hour. Now let's see what Tony Kanaan can do. Not a very impressive run during practice. He was 16th fastest overall. But Tony Kanaan, as the green flag comes out and he begins his 4-lap run, has had some very good finishes here at this racetrack. His worst in the last 5 years has been a 6th, and he won in 2007.
Guys, last time we saw Tony Kanaan, remember, he was very disgruntled and upset at the end of the Chicago race. I checked with both Tony and his crew chief, George Klotz, who calls the shots, and I said, was he mad at his teammates or what? George looked and pointed right at himself, and he said, Jack, actually, he was mad at me because of the way I called that race. George shrugged his shoulders, and he told me, fellas, he said, hey, sometimes I'm a winner and sometimes I'm a bum.
Well, we saw how unhappy he was after that race. He jumped on his motor scooter after going down and saying something to Michael, and he was out of there.
Yeah, he was throwing that scooter around with a vengeance, wasn't he, as he was going back through the paddock area? Remember, you know, TK wasn't as fast as he would have liked to have been in the final practice, but he's got the resource of his other teammates just to kind of see what their data is. And Danica had some speed, so where's that translating over to TK's car?
Oh, he's picking up a little bit of pace here, but this is not what Tony Kanaan would have wanted. When you look at speeds, 197, 198, this will be a bit better than 198.9, but yeah, he's going to go back to George and say, okay, strategy at the last race, but I need some speed now.
Yeah, he's just about where he practiced at, so he's getting everything out of the car that he possibly can. Ticker at the bottom says he'll run 5th right now as he comes off of corner number 4 to take the checkered flag, and lap number 4 is 198.727. His average is 198.560, and he is 4th fastest. Ryan Briscoe is the points leader, and he'll be out to qualify very soon on Peak Pole Qualifying on Versus. They're still talking about the most recent race in the IndyCar series. Look at the finish as Ryan Briscoe beats Scott Dixon by 7 1/1000ths of a second, the 4th closest finish in IndyCar series history for Roger Penske. Mario Moraes ended up on the podium at Chicagoland. So far this year, Ryan Briscoe and Dario Franchitti both have 4 pole positions. Nobody else has more than 2. Scott Dixon's start on the pole at Kentucky was really not earned because they were lined up because of rain, according to owner points. So Briscoe hopes to get 1 point here and add to his advantage. He'll get that if he can walk off with the peak pole position this afternoon. He was 4th quickest in practice, a little over 200.7 miles an hour.
And this is going to be key. Where you start, championship point on the line. This is important for Briscoe.
Jack Arute is watching with Dario Franchitti, who's right now on the pole.
Well, what do you think, Dario? You're watching your big nemesis out here right now trying to take a point away.
This is the key point right here. 3 and 4 first lap. See how he goes. Car looks good. You know, Ryan's going to be strong. You know, so is Scott. 199.6. That's not a great first lap, so that's good for us. Dixie's up for it, I'll tell you that. Dixie's had a bunch to eat. He's fueled and ready to go. So he's going to be hard to beat too. But I have to give the Target boys full marks. They made some really great changes this morning, both in my car and Scott's, and we're a lot happier than we were. So we've got good race cars. Let's just see if we can start up front.
Oh, we're going to have to watch, and Dario will continue to watch this as Ryan Briscoe logs in another lap, guys.
And it's above 201 miles an hour, so he picked it up from lap number 1.
And if he keeps improving lap after lap, which we've seen guys do, he's going to be kicking himself if that first lap is what's going to keep him from potentially getting that pole position and that one extra point, Jan, you talked about.
But he's improving very slightly, maybe a 2:01.3 here.
Yep.
He's going to have to improve a bit more than that for that little ruler to pop up to P1.
Right now he is second quickest and on his final lap in qualifying.
Well, Briscoe showed great diversity with his speed with the poles at the 1 mile Milwaukee, the super speedways, and the road courses.
It's
very
going to be
talented.
close, Bob. It's going to be close. Another, maybe a 2:01.4, but probably a 2:01.3. May not be enough.
Checkered flag, lap number
Let it
4.
run free.
201.4, average 200.849. He's second quick. So he will not get the 1 bonus point for being on pole. Dario still has a chance.
Dario's like, whoo. You know, championships come down to 1 point.
He has dodged 1 bullet here.
And what a prediction from him, saying Scott Dixon is still the man he thinks that can knock him off the pole.
Well, Danica Patrick, as you'll recall, won her race here last year. She'll be out to qualify when we come back on Versus. Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi and Peak Pole qualifying. While we were away, Hideki Muto had a big hit.
That is rolling. Here he is rolling into turn 3. He just downshifts. The rear comes around, and Jan, we talked about earlier, that is the most challenging part on this racetrack. You got to carry that speed into turn 3, make sure the car isn't pushing too much coming off there, but sometimes it gets a little positive going in, and that's just what happened.
Looks like he's favoring his left leg and not able to bear any weight on it. We'll wait further reports from the infield medical center. Meanwhile, on the racetrack is Roger Yasukawa driving the number 43 car for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing. Also, while we were away, Robert Dornbos qualified at 196.756. He is the slowest of the 9 who have been out to qualify.
And during that break, Jack Arut just reminded us of the kind of pressure that Hideki Muto is under, having 100 friends and relatives here. When they called him on the radio, Jack said, "No, I'm not hurt. I'm just hurt in the heart." Jack, you're with Ryan?
Yes, indeed I am. And Ryan, I want to know what and how much did you leave on the table in your qualifying?
Well, I think I left a bit on the table on my opening, first lap, and it really frustrated me because the car was good, and I think I really closed well in the last 3 laps. I did my quickest laps of the day for myself, and the car was strong. I didn't have the confidence in the first lap on the cold pressures and felt the car sliding a bit, and really, compared to Dario, I think I was about 3/10 slower on the first lap, and right there is the difference over 4 laps. So a little bit frustrating not to get the pole, but hopefully we can keep the number 6 car at the pointy end.
Guys, that's the whole key. You only get 1 point for winning the pole, a whole slew of points for winning the race.
That is right. Roger Yasukawa's first lap 196.8, second lap 197.5, and he's very close to the speed that he practiced at earlier.
And how about Briscoe to say, yeah, maybe it was that first lap, let a little something on the table. He just wasn't confident. Here's a guy that's just been dominant all year, and it just shows you how much these cars are just on edge when you are building pressures and temperatures, and how these guys have to challenge themselves to really get after it when the green flag drops.
Third lap 197.9, but Briscoe, although he is in his first championship pace, is really holding up well during all of this because he's won the last 2 oval track races.
I think what's really made a difference for Briscoe when you hear about, oh, maybe I left something on the track, is that way he's matured. And you got to take risks only when you need to.
Absolutely.
197.498 for Yasukawa. He is currently 8th quick. Danica Patrick. This race was in April of last year as she rolls out onto the racetrack. But when the IndyCar Series visited Twin Ring Motegi last in April of 2008, you all remember what happened. Danica Patrick led the others to the checkered flag, winning her first IndyCar Series event, and all the emotion that had been built up for many, many races was let go, and Danica wins here in Japan last year. This was just a little bit earlier today as she got into her car. Yeah, I would say she was the focus of a lot of media attention with you. And Danica Patrick is about to begin her 4-lap qualification run. She was 3rd quick in practice with a lap at over 200.9 miles an hour. Let's see what Danica can do.
Nice warm-up lap. That's as fast as anyone has done. But warm-up laps don't pay.
When we were riding on board with her, just as we are right now, we noticed she looked very comfortable in the cockpit, not a lot of extra hand movement. It all just looked very calm and very smooth with all her inputs, and that's what you need to have for the speed.
Almost 200, as close as you can get to that. That's a great start. And she's improving. She'll be over 200 this time.
Coming down to turn 3, here's where it's important to keep that speed up as you roll into there. Off the gas. Now get back to the throttle.
Should be 200.5. Still on a 200.5 pace. She'll be happy with that, but it won't take too much more speed to start to move up the order. Now looking at 200.6. Now 207.
Wow.
It's ticking off.
Yep, 200.755.
Now 200.8. It's gaining.
Do I hear a 9?
Sure, I'll go with that.
Ticker shows her in 4th position.
It'll be close to a 9.
A really good run, though, for Danica. Here she is, looking at the checkered flag, completion of the run, and lap number 4 was 200.762, so it was her best. The average is 200.519. She is currently 4th quick. It's Franchitti, Briscoe, Rahal, and Patrick in the first 2 rows.
You have to remember, it has to be somewhat disconcerting when Hideki Muto goes out as a team member. They run similar setups, and he had that big crash in turn 3. That can be unsettling, knowing, hey, I'm running about the same setup that he is. I might have to take it a bit easy at that tricky spot on the track.
Yeah, does it make you say, hey, guys, we got to back it off. We got to be conservative a little bit more with what happened to Hideki?
And here's a guy that you saw on the podium at Chicagoland, coming off his best finish in the IndyCar Series. This is Mario Moraes driving for KV Racing Technology. He was 5th fastest in practice at 200.332. He is one of the 8 drivers who have never raced here at Twin Ring Motegi. And by the way, don't get confused now. The race is later tonight at 10:30 Eastern Time. It's not tomorrow night. It is tonight at 10:30 Eastern Time. There he is showing his 3rd place finish at Chicagoland, and before that he had his best finish up to that point of 4th at Sonoma. So here's a driver who is really coming along.
He should have a 200-mile-per-hour opener here.
Yes, he does. 200.8. That's faster than he practiced at. And it shows him on the pole.
For now.
Yeah.
He's got to improve.
I mean, Moraes, he's been fast on super speedways all year long. He's had the speed. He's just now seeing the results. We just saw that with the 3rd place finish in Chicago.
Now it's showing a 201.1.
Wow.
201.5.
guys, ever since Mario Moraes suffered that tragedy of losing his dad, a certain level of maturity has come over this young driver. The crew and Mario both admit that something that they really can't put a finger on has changed the way Mario Moraes actually approaches each and every race. When he got here at Japan, it was quite obvious to me, guys, he wants to win one for Dad. He's a much more mature driver than he was before the loss of his pop.
Wow, third lap is 201.757.
And remember, he is still only 20 years old. When you say he is maturing, he's still only 20 years old.
And this is quicker. Oh, now he just slipped a little. He was at a 201.8, now at 201.7. He's going to be right on the edge.
Will he be on the pole? Here's a fourth lap. 201.861. Yes, he is on the provisional pole. 201.504, the four-lap average for Moraes.
Talk about carrying the momentum of his best two finishes at Sonoma and Chicago, and now he's on the pole, the provisional pole. How about that?
His previous best start fourth at Watkins Glen earlier this year. So Mario Moraes on the provisional pole. Will he hold it? Back with more peak pole qualifying in a moment.
Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi, where peak qualifying continues for the IndyCar Series. Clouds have descended, but so far it has been green all the way. Danica Patrick joins me now. And Danica, was there something missing in your qualifying run?
There was something additional that was a problem. On my third lap, I went down to fourth gear. I really only should have done one downshift, so we'll have to look and see if it did it by accident, electronically with ECU, or if it was if I actually hit it twice. But I'm sure that affected my last two laps because, you know, leading into the next lap is also a big thing here because you're just so flat out and spooled up through 1 and 2. So, you know, I mean, the car's been pretty good this whole time. Eddie's done a great job, my engineer, and we had a really good last session before qualifying and made good progress, and you know, we're here to win. So I'm a little disappointed that I'm 5th right now, but it's all so close, so we'll have to have good pit stops. I've been working hard on that, getting in and out, and what else are you going to do, right?
Hey,
a little luck, right?
A lot of luck.
We know a little luck helps here.
Exactly. Let's also update you on Danica's teammate, Hideki Muto. They did x-ray, fellas. His foot, it came back negative. He's been cleared to drive in the race.
Very good news after a hard hit in turn number 3 for Hideki Muto. Justin Wilson, his first lap is 198.382. While we were away, Dan Weldon, Thomas Schechter, Rafael Matos, and Mike Conway qualified 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then Stanton Barrett also qualified at 190.878. He is the slowest of the 18 qualifiers. And Justin Wilson had a 199 lap in practice, but isn't up to that speed yet. There he is, 199.3 on lap number 2.
Justin driving for Dale Coyne. I know, you know, Justin has absolutely shown his speed on the road courses and street courses and what he can do. And I just remember before the Chicago race, he said, this is the type of track we got to grow and get better on, is these 1.5 mile super speedways. And, you know, this is not the normal 1.5 mile super speedway here because there's a little bit more driver finesse through turns 3 and 4, but they're making good headway.
He's up to 200 now. You see up there where it says 18th on that ruler, that was a bit off. He may slot in about the 9th position at the moment, or if he can pick up a bit more, maybe even 8th. So for Justin Wilson, for where they've been on ovals, that would be a victory.
No question. To be up in the top 10 for this, absolutely. They're going in the right direction.
Wilson stops the clock, and he is 8th quickest, 199.489. So he was considerably faster than the speed that he has turned in during the practice. Jack Arute is with our provisional pole sitter, Mario Moraes.
And since he got out of the Azul car, guys, he has not stopped smiling. What was the key to that quick 4-lap qualifying average?
Well, I'm pretty impressive. You know, the team has been working really hard for that, and it's my first time here in Motegi, so I'm enjoying very much. We still have some 3-4 cars really quick that is going out right now, so let's hope we can still in the top.
Let's talk a little bit about the change that you kind of underwent when you lost your dad. You've brought back from that tragedy a certain level of maturity that has not gone unnoticed by your teammates, fellow drivers, or those of us in the media. Do you see it that way?
Well, it's been really tough for me after that, you know, but when my dad spent 6 months in the hospital, so I was with my mind on him, and sometimes you cannot make two good things, you know, so you need to be focused on one, and right now I'm focused on racing, so I think our luck changed as well.
There you go. We're going to make you stay here right till the bitter end and see if anybody can unseat you, but let's go back upstairs to you guys.
And it's Castroneves on the racetrack. He was 7th quick in practice at 200.193 miles an hour. He is about to complete
this could
lap
be
number
200.
1.
He could open with a 200.
Yeah, 200.261.
Anytime today you open with a 200, you're in there with a shot at the front.
And they didn't do as much time out on the track in that final practice. They were definitely doing some more changes. They made a gear stack change. So they gave up some track time, but they were searching for those things that just give you that extra edge.
Should be 200.7, maybe a 200.8.
Yep. Elio has 3 poles in IndyCar Series racing here at this track, and 1 when he was in the kart series.
Fellas, one of the things that Helio Castroneves was chasing, like everybody here during that last qualifying, you talked about the gear stack change. What everybody's trying to do is get the full use of...
Oh, look out, Jack!
Oh, he's hit the wall.
Hard into the wall.
Oh, did you hear the lift? Before I saw his car get high, I just heard him dump the throttle to the point where you're like, that isn't right.
Remember, he had a big crash like that recently when the front suspension broke. This time it just looks like the front lost grip, and boy, when it gets high, it gets to the wall in a hurry.
You know, it looks so calm when we're just watching the cars go around, or when we get on board and somebody's not fighting the wheel. But boy, as soon as you get high, how quick all of a sudden the car gets into the wall or gets a little loose like it did for Hideki. And at real time, it's amazing how quick it all happens.
He had been turning laps over 200 miles an hour when the crash occurred, coming off corner number 4, but he climbs out and appears to be in good shape. But the car is not.
Yeah, there's no limp or anything like that. That was just kind of the head throw of, darn it.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't what he was saying, but...
Well, Elio is not in the championship hunt. He is currently 4th in the point standings after missing the first race. Here is the replay. Look how high he was off 4.
Man.
But you have to drive through turns 3 and 4 with commitment. So he rolled in there, guys, and he went back to the throttle, but the car just went up the racetrack. And that's what you have to do to get the lap. There was the lift.
Yep.
You heard the lift when he's like, oh, it's getting high. There was the lift, but the lift didn't bring it back.
Man, it sure didn't.
You talk about commitment. He was hard, full throttle until the very bitter end when he realized this isn't going to work.
And we saw we heard the lift, and we saw the car not come back down the track at all.
You think you're going to lift and the frontal stick? It didn't do anything. It just went straight up to the wall. Wow.
So he is our 2nd driver to crash during qualifying. Hideki Muto did earlier, and now Helio Castroneves puts his Penske machine into the fence. We'll be right back. Qualifying continues here at Twin Ring Motegi. Scott Dixon will be on the track in just a few moments. Right now, it's Ed Carpenter on the racetrack. While we were away, Koski Matsura, driving for Conquest Racing, clocked in 15th fastest. Ed Carpenter was 18th in practice earlier today, a 198.451. We've had 2 crashes during qualifying. Elio Castroneves and Hideki Muto. Elio was checked at the infield medical center, and he was cleared to drive. So both drivers are okay following their crashes. First lap for Ed, 197.3.
This has been a good track for Ed last year. He had a good finish here. He finished 6th. He was actually running up in the top 3 and was well on his way to his podium finish. But they had to come in for fuel right at the end. There was a fuel game, but they had a busted header, and they couldn't conserve fuel. The electronic system overrode it, and unfortunately, didn't end up on the podium.
And there is Mario Moraes, who is the provisional pole sitter. He has to watch Ed complete his run, and then Scott Dixon, who was fastest in practice. Mario looking for his first pole in IndyCar Series competition. Ed Carpenter about to complete his 3rd lap. His 2nd lap was 199.2, and his 3rd lap is 199.9. So he's close to that 200-mile-an-hour mark.
His final lap should be in the 200 range, so that could move him up the order slightly.
Right now, probably around 12 as the ticker shows us. Here's the checkered flag. 4th lap is above 200, 200.115, 199.164, and he is 10th fastest. Once again, do not forget that the race is later tonight, not tomorrow night, later tonight at 10:30 Eastern Time. It's the Indy Japan 300. Danica Patrick won last year. This year, we could determine the champion. Ryan Briscoe could clinch the championship later tonight at 10:30 Eastern Time. The IndyCar Series on Versus. Only one race after this one, and that will, of course, be the finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. Well, Scott Dixon would sure like to have that point for qualifying on the pole and making himself 32 points instead of 33 behind Briscoe.
And you see those sparks. When you see all those sparks, we saw Dan Weldon during one of the breaks had a lot of sparks and didn't get up to speed quickly. Robbie, I think that Scott Dixon has got the speed and the muscle to do it, but sometimes you see that many sparks, that's not a good sign.
Well, in the final practice, we saw them go out with sticker tires. He went right out and was very fast. So they knew what they wanted to do in terms of starting with cold temperatures and building those pressures, but still more sparks than I would have thought.
This is a great lap, though. This could be a 201.
Whoa.
This would be the way you want to lead off. If you want one championship point, is lead off with a 201, and he's on it.
Let's see what Mario thinks about that.
202.010.
That's what you see him kind of roll his eyes back in his head. Yeah.
Wow, Scott Dixon on his way to a possible pole position here. Very impressive first lap.
And he's going quicker. This could be a 202.5. Well, he slipped a little now. 202.1, still plenty of speed.
202.067, just a little bit faster than lap number 1, but still good enough for the pole.
Plenty of speed. You know, so everybody talks about this racetrack being flat. There he is coming off of turn 2. Actually, when you go into 3 here, you dive down into a little bit of a bowl. And then as you hit the gas there in the middle of 3 and 4, you kind of come up out of that bowl a little bit. So there is some elevation to it.
The 3rd lap is identical to the 1st lap.
Another 202. He's got it in the bag. Just keep it on the island here, Scott Dixon. You know what? The pressure was on. They call him the Iceman. He needed this championship point. It looks like he's going to get it.
And that 1 point, you know, you say, oh, that 1 point, what could that mean? Well, when we've had 13 championship point leads in 15 races, that's why you need that point.
202.036 on the final lap. He is on the pole for the Indy Japan 300 with a 4-lap average of 202.031. Mario Moraes didn't earn his first pole position, but he came doggone close. He'll start alongside Scott in the front row. We will talk with the peak pole winner here at Japan, Scott Dixon, when we return on Versus.
IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win.
And for the first time this year, Scott Dixon earns a pole position. He's now 32 behind in the championship. Congratulations to our peak pole winner. Here's Jack.
You get a point, Scott Dixon, and your teammate Dario Franchitti said you'd been eating and you were going to go get it. What was the key?
He's slightly older, so he's got to watch his weight. You know, his metabolism's not that fast. But no, it's definitely been a great start for Team Target. Obviously, both of us are ahead of both Penske's. You know, and that's what we've got to keep trying to do. And it's 1 point at a time. It's only 1 point. You know, we could definitely do with a lot more right now, but it's heading in the right direction. Hopefully, we can, you know, keep it that solid in the race.
Let's talk a little bit about the race. How do you, at least at this point in time, see it shaking down?
It's always tough here, you know, and strategies are always the key. You know, we saw last year we dominated the race, and it turned out in the end we went on the right strategy, and definitely credit to Danica and AGR for picking that win up. But you know, it's always a tough race here. It's a long race. It's all about momentum. Your car's not got to be just quick. It's got to be good in traffic as well. So hopefully we've got a combination of all of that.
Well, we'll find out, won't we, guys?
We sure will. Scott is the 6th different driver to earn a pole position this year. As you take a look at the starting lineup for the race, the record is 9 different pole winners in 2002. It's Scott's first pole since Detroit 2008. And again, we point out that he did start from the pole at Kentucky, but he did not earn the pole position. It was awarded on owner points. The 2 drivers starting at the rear of the field crashed during qualifying.
And when Hideki Muto knew he was in trouble, look, he puts his hands on top of the wheel, and the force just blows his hands off. Thankfully, that limp turned into nothing bad, and he's cleared, as well as Castroneves.
And Elio just carrying that speed through turns 3 and 4 up into the wall. Unfortunately, he crashed, but he's okay.
Both drivers are okay, and hopefully will start later tonight. Coming up next, Federal Premium Dangerous Game. Be sure to tune in tonight at 10:30 Eastern for the Indy Japan 300. For more information on IndyCar, go to Versus.com. Congratulations to Scott Dixon. For Jan Beekes, Robbie Buell, and Jack Arute, I'm Bob Jenkins. See you at 10:30 tonight on